How does the sentence actually weigh up? I'm joined by Tuelo Thomas. He's a criminal law expert to dissect the sentence today. Tuelo, good evening, and thanks so much for coming through today. So let's talk about the sentence. I mean, if we add it all up, Nicholas Ninow in his early 20s, if he survives the jail time, if he does that, he's going to get out in his 50s. Should we have seen maybe 2 or 3 life terms in this case, or is this acceptable?
Good evening, and good evening to the viewers as well. I would say that life sentence for one offence might be suitable. Obviously, the judge must have looked at taking into account these mitigating factors, because even though the judge did not deviate from the given sentence, as prescribed by the Minimum Sentences Act, obviously he must have taken into account, those mitigating factors when imposing, this life sentence. What
would have been some of those things? Just from what you know of the trial, would it have been that he himself appeared to have been a victim, that this was a product of his upbringing, do you think?
Obviously, the first one would be the fact that he pleaded guilty.
Yeah.
Thereby pleading guilty, one is, I would say, saving the state cost. Number one, the state doesn't have to call, witnesses. The state doesn't have to have the victim or the complainant, traumatized, by reliving the whole ordeal. Also, the judge might have looked at his age. He's still, reasonably young. He's 21 years old. And then also, I was thinking about something earlier on, but I'll get back to that later on if I
It'll crop up again in your mind. So the judge saying that when and if he ever does get into the workforce again, he will never be allowed to work with children. He will be on the sexual offenders register as well. So are we looking? Would he qualify, or would he be a candidate for parole, according to the sentence? Would he?
Yeah,
for whatever.
Definitely, at some point, the correctional services would obviously monitor his progress, in prison, and after he has served, some substantial part of his sentence, the corrections office will definitely look into him and to see if he is a suitable candidate to be allowed, back into the society, to be reintegrated back into the society, and the correctional services can also give him certain conditions that he has to meet, just to make sure that they monitor him closely in case that he breaks such conditions, that he be brought back in to complete his sentence.
Just watching this trial, Tuelo, what for you were some of the societal issues, or the issues that have been brought up by this trial, and as much publicized as it was as well? And obviously I would imagine that the reason for making it so public is the hope that it might be a deterrent to other potential offenders, other predators out there. From what we saw, do you think it might have gone some way to serving that purpose?
I wouldn't be too sure, because throughout the years, we've had the harshest of sentences, the harshest of punishment, but somehow we still see certain people falling into that trap. Remember also that sometimes these offenses are not like planned. A person doesn't sit down and say that I'm planning to do this and this might be the consequence. People sometimes would just be opportunistic. Like this particular Ninow's case, I think it was opportunistic in the sense that I don't think that Ninows went to draws planning that I'm going to victimize someone at Ninows, or rather at draws. So I believe that he must have been there, opportunity presented itself, and without even thinking about the consequences of his actions, he committed the said offense. I would make example with even countries that have capital punishment, which is death penalty as a sentence. We still see people committing offenses, and the end result is always the same. They are going to be hanged.
And the fact that you feel that it was opportunistic, he sees, makes it even scarier sometimes, because you just never know the person you're standing next to, the person you're sitting next to, wherever this is what they're going to do at any second, or possibly do.
To be quite honest with you, one can never know. Just like for instance, you would find like you've heard about incidents where a police officer would, turn against his colleagues and then just shoot his colleagues in the police station or something like that. It's because these things are sometimes unplanned, and there's sometimes some underlying issues as to why these people would behave, in such.
But at the end of the day, the crime is the crime. Somebody's hurt, somebody's life has been destroyed. Many people's lives have been destroyed.
Definitely, but then again, we can never have a perfect society. If we had a perfect society, I believe every country would buy that formula to have such a perfect
crime-free
society.
one. All right. Well, thanks very much for your insight. Tuella Thomas, criminal law expert, just giving us his take on the sentencing of child rapist Nicholas Ninow. And